consumer. Thank you, Priyal. So consumer products are something which is visible in front of you and which you use every day. So you are able to relate to it better than B2B products, which are mostly invisible and are present in companies, right? And organizations. They're not very public. That said, the largest, I would say, the most valuable companies in the world are all B2B products, B2B platforms, right? And even B2C products have a B2B element to it if they are large enough. For example, Facebook, which has a marketplaces product, which can be used by businesses, which are business. So it becomes B2B in that sense. So I'm here to demystify what building for B2B products look like. We'll deep dive a little bit about the traits required for building for B2B and what's the expectation, right, for B2B products in general as well. As always, please keep dropping in your questions in the chat box. We'll try to answer them as often as possible. And this session is recorded. It'll be on YouTube as well, so you can take a look at it for reference later and share it with your friends. And with that, let's get started. Let me share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen once I do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kushal.
All right, super. Cool. B2B product management, right? Now let's talk, let's take an example of a B2B product and how it differs from a B2C product, right? So in B2B products, example of such a product would be Zoho. Zoho is, I would say, a CRM. It's a massive platform, CRM platform, which helps businesses run their operations on the platform. It has a lot of features, which includes invoicing, billing, revenue tracking, CRM, customer relationship management, etc. It's exclusively a B2B product, right? So B2B products, what are the traits and expectations from B2B products? So these products, right, they have to fulfill existing features or functions for organizations, for businesses. They need not reinvent the wheel always, but most often than not, successful B2B products are something which helps solve or perform an operation within a business environment more effectively. And of course, if you think about it, I'll give you an example, right? So invoicing and automated invoicing. Earlier, everyone used to businesses used to write, type out these invoices and, or even before that, write these invoices in by hand and then share it across with other businesses, right? Now you can just type it up and you can send it electronically to other businesses. So that's what, invoicing B2B tools have made it easy in terms of invoicing. And they have a single dashboard where you can track invoices which are sent out, which are paid, which are yet to be paid, etc., as well, right? So B2B products, most often than not, fulfill existing features or functions. They seamlessly integrate with existing systems, and they get better with time. What that means is the more you use it, the more data goes into the platform and the more useful it becomes to the business, right? Think about it like a CRM platform. So CRM is customer relationship management. So B2B companies have customers. They want to manage the relationship on a platform. And what that means is having their personal details or other business details, seeing how much business they're bringing into the organization, how can they what is the last payment, how valuable are they to the business, etc. Now, as the company grows, you'll have more customers being tracked in the CRM, and hence it's more valuable, right? So everything is in one place. So it gets better with time. B2B products also gives a direct ROI to the businesses. Think about it as, if there's one person who's doing invoicing every day for the company, and you're replacing that person with a tool. Essentially, what you've done is you've made the job of that person redundant. He has a salary per year. That cost you've allocated to your tool, right? Or part of it. Clearly, you have seen, and let's say the tool costs 10% of the cost of the person who's doing the job. Then you have saved 90% in savings for the company with your tool. It has a very clear ROI, which can be computed. And of course, security and privacy are paramount if you are building for B2B, if you're building B2B platforms. Whereas B2C platforms, they solve for a new need or want or a desire. Take an example for Snapchat. Right? When it launched, it had no purpose to exist in the universe, except people took to it, right? So essentially, they've created a new want of this ephemeral, you know, content being created online between two people. So they created some need or want, and a lot of it is, via experimentation, by trialing, by testing out some ideas and hypotheses. It's not a straightforward path for B2C as much as it's for a B2B platform. It generally has to look flashy. It should stand out. It should be more visually appealing. That's when consumers get attracted to the product and use it. It's very necessary for it to have a great user experience as well. I'll get to you the questions in probably about 10 minutes. So let's move on. So I hope you have a basic idea between what B2B and B2C platforms or products differentiate at primary traits. Let's talk about a typical B2B customer journey, right? Everything starts by looking for leads, same as with end users in B2C, except these leads can be directly contacted. You can find them on LinkedIn, you can find them on Crunchbase, you can find them on AngelList. You can find who makes decisions in that organization for your product. Talk to them, pitch your product, demo it, so it gets qualified. And then once they say, yeah, your product probably fits the problem statement which we have in mind. So they're qualified, and then it moves into, you making an offer that, let's, I'll be paying X dollars, or rather, I'm going to charge X dollars per user for using my product. Now, this goes into a negotiation within the organization because it's never straightforward in terms of cost decision making. The company always tries to get the pricing right or down for them. And once they iron out the nitty-gritties of or details of the whole journey, or like the whole tool and use of the tool in that particular company, you close the deal, you make the payment, you close the deal, you onboard that customer, everything's working great. And once you have like enough traction on your product, you ask for referrals, and then you move on, and these referrals bring in new leads, etc. So this is a typical B2B customer journey. It's very, I would say, it has a high touch element to it. And what high touch means here is, you constantly are in touch with the end customer to ensure, they're progressing through the funnel until, the deal is closed. And then, of course, they are retained after that as well. Yeah. So let's elaborate a little bit on the B2B customer journey itself, right? So first step is the discovery and pre-sales step. What that means is, a company has a requirements, and those requirements are generally posted. If it's a larger enough organization, they're made public, and companies bid to build product or solve the problem for this particular. Other companies want to solve the problem for this particular company. So the pitch to the obviously to the company. These are generally done by sales and pre-sales teams in the B2B product company. Once the demos are successful, the company which is buying the product always asks for reference calls and some small proof of concepts to be done. Small demos, not even demos, like small pilots to be done before they're convinced that they want to bring the product on board. Once even that step is done, so commercials are closed, and paperwork is signed, and the tool is scheduled to be onboarded into the company, right? Once you sign the deal, that's only when the tool is offered to the or software is offered to the business itself. Brings us to the next stage, right? Which is the implementation and go live stage. In this step, as you can imagine, you are ensuring that software fits into the workings of an organization, and you go live with that product, right? So what the B2B product team does, or B2B product execution team does, is figure out all the processes that exist for that particular company, which is buying the product, and see how those processes can be mapped onto your tool. If someone is doing XYZ step manually, if your tool is automating it, then you have to visualize, help the other company visualize that, what, these are the people who are probably not need to be doing this. These steps can be skipped, and they can be moved into the product directly, right? So you do the process mapping and see how you can find any gaps which needs to be plugged or which can be plugged by the particular product. Once you understand the processes, you'll be able to help the other company modify it, and you will work hand in hand with this company to ensure it's a smooth transition happening into using your product. And this transition is supported by having a very strong training and change management process or step, where you provide customer manuals, where you provide a way for the team on the other side to understand your product, understand how it fits into the existing process, and see if how they can start trialing the product itself, so that the transition is very smooth. And once that's done, everyone's prepared, dry run is done, you plan the go live, and then you go live after that. What happens after you go live, right? Of course, nothing is perfect in this world. So obviously, the B2B company, the product company, expects some form of I mean, they anticipate for some kind of issues or problems to occur, which might not have been anticipated. And hence they have a post go live support teams, right? Or a support step where they work very closely with the company to ensure that, the if it could be either a bug which is cropping up, or a failure in a step in the process which is understood by the other party. And then they help, sort all of these issues. So these issues, of course, are reported, and every issue is expected to be fixed or resolved by the B2B company in something called an SLA, service level agreement. So depending on the severity of the issue, these issues have to be fixed within a specific time frame. And of course, these are bugs. If there are bugs, if there are requirements to modify the software and the code, fix these issues and push them live, you need to plan a release and communicate the release to the companies who have your software deployed, to avoid minimal business disruption for them. And finally, if everything's going smoothly, you want to see how well the product is being adopted in the organization. Now, once you have the product being used extensively in a particular organization, you then start talking to the client stakeholders who are responsible for making a decision to onboard your product, right? Ask them how much value, and get an idea of how much value you are deriving or driving with your product, and figure out a way to upsell or cross-sell across your product and platform. For example, if you have a platform which has products A, B, and C, and product A is deployed in the company X, if the company is satisfied with company like with product A, you might want to upsell for them to buy product B as well. And there could be might or might not be correlation between these products in itself. Right. So what are the customer expectations from a B2B product today, right? So the product has to, and definitely has to, fit into the company's workflow or process. Otherwise, no one's going to buy your product. No one has the time and energy to invest in building a new workflow or understanding a new workflow for their helping their employees understand a new workflow to be productive, or to be able to use the product in the first hand. It's a very high friction move, as you can imagine, and you would want to try to avoid it. The companies which fit into existing workflows work best. The tool has to integrate into the overall IT ecosystem very seamlessly. And IT here is infrastructure, right? So, I mean, of course, what is necessary is I'll give an example of fitting into an IT ecosystem. The software, for example, has to sometimes, depending on the security policies of the company, deployed within like the firewall of the company itself. And for that, your product should have the provision to support it, right? Or it could be that it has to pass all security checks. Only then it will be deployed, and the security checks are standard across all tools and IT infrastructure for the company as well. So the tool has to fit into the existing overall IT ecosystem with as seamlessly as possible without needing for additional integrations for it. The tool has to be scalable across time and geographies. Of course, if you're an international org, it's very necessary that the tool supports international time zones and supporting for local laws in various geographies as well. And it's a very standard ask for B2B products to support appropriate service level agreements. If this bug of severity X crops up, you have to fix in 2 hours, for example. That's an example of an SLA. And these SLAs are very stringent in the sense they're legally binding. So if you are a B2B product company, you're expected to adhere to these SLAs, otherwise you will face penalties or even loss of business, if these SLAs are not met. Yeah, and we touched upon compliance and security. These are big aspects and very paid very close attention within an organization today. And it's expected that all of this, all of the tools fall into the purview of compliance and security, which these companies have in mind. Yeah. Moving on to what are the must-haves for enterprise-focused B2B products, right? As you can imagine, enterprises have hierarchies, they have departments, they have functions, they have roles, right? So it's very necessary to have role-based permissions for accessing specific parts of the system, depending on the role in the organization or the position of that person of the user in the organization as well. It's very necessary and a standard ask. Audit trails. I mean, this is a very standard ask. Audit trails should exist for to track any activity someone is doing on the platform, and assuming that the platform is directly serving the business. Essentially, you're tracking activity of the business, right? So it is like a mandate slash common best practice to have audit trails to understand who's done a specific change where, etc., so that you can go back in time, fix any issues, or find who's done specific changes very easily. And audit trails are necessary, especially if companies face lawsuits sometime in their history, and they have to go back to share do the due diligence and share information with other external government or independently investigating authorities. Hence, audit trails are a standard requirement for B2B products. A robust data and reporting layer. As you can imagine, CXOs at an organization at top of the chain do not have time to look at the day-to-day operations. They would like to get summaries at the top, surface to the top. They will expect the same from the product, from the product itself. They do not care about how detailed what's the detailed work being done by specific individuals in the product, as much as a summary or sort of reports of the activity by everyone in the organization as well. So being able to like track activity and surface this as reports in a flexible manner is necessary. And of course, workflows and other capabilities are necessary. Think about it as you have a process which exists today. You're replacing the process with your tool or workflow within your tool. It has to be better than the previous, how things have been done previously. And there has to be flexibility in the tool to support various forms of workflows, which mimics the expectations of the organization and how the organization is structured. And finally, integrations is something which probably differentiates and will probably put your product apart from your competitors in terms of making it very flexible for data to flow in and out of your platform, as well as tying your platform with other tools into a singular workflow. So integrations becomes a key there. Authenticating the data transfer between two systems is very necessary, for you to support it. And additionally, if you're building for global context, as you can imagine, you have to support for multilingual. You need to have like multilingual support, handle multiple time zones and currencies where required, and your tool has to support local regulatory compliance as well. Cool. All right, we'll probably pause to take a few questions. From Shubham, a business may avoid buying B2B products if they can do it on their own. How is market fit found? Uh, Multiple factors, Shubham. So, of course, the business can always do things manually. Some things cannot be done manually, especially if you're looking at large big data, right? You can't have one person sit and crunch all the data for you. System has to do it. But if you're looking at what are the criteria required for decision making to buy a product, straight away, a few metrics which come to my mind is efficiency. Is it saving the time of a member or members or a team within your organization? How much of it is it saving? What are the benefits of time savings? Time savings translate directly into cost savings sometimes. So cost also becomes a factor then. And also competitive edge. If you're able to like move fast, save money, do things better and more efficiently with less people, of course, that's a big plus in the favor of getting that particular B2B product on board. All right, can you please show the last slide? I'm not sure which slide you're referring to, Shivam. Maybe we'll revisit it towards the end. All right, we'll quickly go to slide 4. Yeah. Any specific question here, Shubham?
He's referring to slide 4.
Yeah, we're looking at slide 4. All right, I'll move on. Shivam, post your question and we'll probably try to cover it towards the end. So as a product leader or a manager in a B2B product, how do you prioritize roadmaps, right? Like how do you decide what goes into your roadmaps? Let's talk a little bit about what the prioritization looks like and how it is split across various criterias which is required to assess in building features or modules into your B2B product. So first is competitor benchmarking, right? You want to look at what are the other tools out there. If your tool is not the first in the market, you'd want to look at who's already built it and what that tool looks like and what features does it have, which you do not have. And then you figure out, these are the features which seem to be working for them well, for other competitors well. Maybe I have to replicate it. That's an example. Platform priorities. So this is an external, I would say, signal or marker. Next is platform priorities of product vision. This is an internal marker. As a leadership, as someone in the leadership team, right? You might have a very clear vision of what problem you're solving, how you want to solve that problem, and what is the vision for the overall organization or the product itself. That becomes a part of platform priorities, what you want to build ahead, which you've thought about, which will add value in the world through your product. Customer specific features, as you can imagine, this is an external marker or signal again. Customers share feedback on what they want to see in the platform with you. And it becomes easy for you to capture them and then prioritize them as well into your roadmap. And finally, product debt. product debt exists. Product debt always gets generated with time. A new product does not have product debt, does not start with having product debt. But with time, you make decisions which are suboptimal at that point. You're sacrificing getting it right, absolutely right, with zero debt, technically speaking, for the sake of speed and velocity and shipping time. In that case, your product debt increases with time. And I'll help you visualize how these things matter with the stage of the product itself. So as you can imagine, early stage, if you're new to the product, you're new to the market, you have some competitors, but you can't replicate all of their features in day one. You start with a small set of features. You have a vision loosely defined, but you are relying a lot on customers defining the vision of the product initially because they have the problem. They are willing to pay for it, and you're building it for them, technically speaking. And you start with a small set of customers initially, and they drive the vision of the product. And of course, in the beginning, you have no product yet. As you keep adding, time, like as you keep progressing in the maturity of your product journey. So you still want to keep an close eye on the competitors, but you also have to craft a unique position for your product in the market. So you focus a lot on the product vision and product platform priorities. And in customer specific features, of course, with scale, with volume of having more customers, you need not listen to one specific customer. You can aggregate feedback across and use that as a signal or a marker to decide your roadmap. And you will be obviously starting with you will be carrying some product debt with time. So what are the common decision points which companies generally assess before deciding to get the B2B product on board, right? First is build versus buy. Every company worth its salt, I'm talking about companies which have a core engineering function, always think, whether, what, does it make sense for us to buy this product or can we just build it ourselves, right? My 2 cents on this topic is if you do not have anything which you're putting time and energy in of your team, which does not impact your core business, you probably are well off buying a product off the shelf than building it yourself. Put everything you have in getting the niche of your product right, the core of your product right. Everything else can be supported by other tools, off the shelf tools. That said, it also depends on the scope of the work as well. If it's small amount of work and you anticipate the maintenance of the work is going to be minimal and you anticipate no new features to be added in the next foreseeable future, no large features, it makes sense for you to then take a call whether you want to buy it. So you have to do the ROI calculations to arrive at this figure. So build fast versus build right, right? This is more a trait of you choosing whether it makes sense to build something today so that and carry some debt, or you build something very right and not have debt but it's slowing you down. So this is a decision making actually on the B2B product company side, whether how you prioritize your features, and this is a common trait for B2C platforms as well. So feature versus stability. Again, we are moving into the B2B product decision making territory. Initially, you have to focus on shipping. That said, you can't compromise on stability, especially with B2B products. Once you lose faith with an organization, it becomes very difficult to buy it back, and they might never want to work with you again. So we have to be very careful in moving very fast without breaking things for the organization, especially if your product becomes core to the working of the organization. The higher the risk it is. And and of course, same decision making point for any B2 any product building journey. You want to enhance the product, or you want to totally rebuild it from scratch, right? That is something you have to always keep in mind. Migrate versus maintain, something which always comes up, when a new tool is being thought to be introduced into a B2B setup, is do we want to like continue with our old tool, or do we get a new tool on board and then we take the pain of migrating the information, workflows, and knowledge into this new tool? I would say it's a very suboptimal way to think about migration being a pain. While it's a short-term pain, if the long-term gain is much higher, you're well off, doing the migration at that point. All right, I'll probably pause here for any questions. Sure, I'll tackle Shubham's questions first. What is the difference between cross-sell and upsell? It's a good one. So cross-sell is the example which I had shared, Shubham. You are a product company. Your platform has products A, B, and C. It's a B2B platform. Product A is deployed in a company, and you're trying to pitch for product B to be adopted into the company as well. Here, what you're doing is you're cross-selling on your platform on very different products, right? Upselling is, let's say I have product A deployed onto the company in the company. There is a upgraded or plus version of product A called A plus, which costs slightly higher. It unlocks a few other features for the product. Now that is upselling in the context of a business. I hope that was clear. All right, we have a question from Ade. Question for slide 7. Why we only need to put 10% on competitive benchmarking when in early stage? As far as I know, we need to define delight or service of a product as a value add. I think you sort of answered the question yourself there. Initially, your customers define your product, right? Competitors are also trying to mimic what your customers need. And there's no like major benefit in replicating what your competitors are doing. You might as well talk to your customers directly, get the feedback, churn that those problems into solutions and features into your platform, and continue building it. So with any product, right, at initial stage, more emphasis has to be placed in customer problem discovery and solving for them than imitating competitors, because they might also not be getting it right. And to de-risk your product, it's better to like just talk to your customers and build for them. Yeah, so we have a question from Visha. Can we repeat build versus buy? So build versus buy is a standard framework used by organizations to assess whether they want to bring a new tool on board or they want to build it themselves, right? Buy a tool off the shelf or build it themselves. I give an example of invoicing. So invoicing, there's a manual person who is, let's say a company is doing it manually. They have one person writing invoices every day, typing it up and sending it to companies. Now, what they can do is build an invoicing tool themselves. What that means is getting 3 developers additionally. Now, this one person is already building these, is doing the invoicing bits. Now you have, let's say, 2 developers or 3 developers who are working for a year to build a tool which makes a role of the invoicing person redundant. And now you're looking at the cost of 3 developers for the year, right? As a yearly cost to support that tool. And you have to continue to build it. You have to have people continue working it. And now if there is an external tool which helps provide that service at $100 per month. Now here a developer cost would be, let's say, on an average, let's take a very ballpark example of $3,000, right? Or $2,000. So here $6,000 per month is being spent on building the tool versus an external company is selling it for $100 per month. Now here the decision is very clear. You'd rather buy the tool than build it yourself and try to maintain it because it's cheaper. So that is how build versus buy is done, Visha. Cool. Let's move on. So what changes when you're building for B2B, SMB, small and medium-sized businesses, right? Think Shopify. Shopify has gotten so big because they made it very easy for small businesses, mom and pop stores, to digitize their businesses, go online and make money from people internationally, right? Now, if you look at the volume of small businesses in the world, there could be hundreds of millions of businesses, right? Or tens or hundreds of millions. You can't go to each of these businesses and try to onboard them manually. It's going to take a lot of your time and energies. Hence, if you're building for smaller businesses, right, where the average return of your investment in building for this business is smaller than enterprises, where you can afford to have like 3 people team working with this enterprise, trying to understand the requirements, and then coming back and then customizing it, because the enterprise is going to write them probably $100,000 check, whereas small businesses will probably look at $100 per month check, right? In that case, you don't make it very low touch, and that requires you to have a lot of self-serve capabilities. Self-serve means anyone can go uh, onboard themselves onto the product, start using it without you having to like intervene in the process anywhere. Oops. So if you are building for SMBs, it's necessary to make it as self-serve and configurable as possible, so that none of your team's manual effort is going into onboarding these customers. Second, focus on flexibility versus control. We just touched upon a little bit about it. While obviously having a lot of configurability built into the platform, which gives flexibility for the stakeholders using the platform to onboard themselves and start using it without you having to control the journey of these users, or like ideal customers. Of course, nothing takes away a great UX for the product itself, and the better your UX, easier you make it for customers to adopt your platform, the faster you'll be growing. Lot of in-app guides, knowledge bases, and tools to troubleshoot and understand how to use the product themselves is very necessary. And with time, you sort of will get an idea of how people are using the product, and sort of templatize the behavior and steps in the process, so that any new business which comes in finds it easy to replicate these configurations and then run with it as well. Right. So now let's move on to metrics and spend a little time on what are the metrics you should be tracking, right? The revenue per model straight away. If you have like 10 modules in your platform, revenue per model is something which you want to assess. And you also want to like track how many of these, how much of your revenue is going by a renewal versus upselling, right? Renewal is, you have like a $10 per month charge. And if a customer continues to renew it every month, that's your renewal revenue. Upsell is after 6 months of using plan A, they are going to plan A plus. That is renewal or upsell, revenue. NPS, right? Net Promoter Score will give you the total satisfaction which customers are experiencing on your platform, on using your product with time. Churn rate, typically B2B products have very low churn rates, and that's because you have direct access to your customers. You can, if something goes wrong, you can just hold their hand and tell them, we're going to fix it. We're going to like build this better, and try to like steer them into continue to use your product as well. And of course, referenceable customers, it's sort of, is an indicator of, word of mouth, or like how popular your product is, and how someone would be willing to refer your product as well, right? So referenceable customers is something you might want to track. And this is done via surveys, or you can talk to these customers yourself. So what are the stakeholders you generally engage if you're a B2B PM, right? The usual suspects, of course, engineering, the black boundary is for internal stakeholders. The usual suspects, engineering, of course, remains the same. Customer success also remains the same for B2C. In B2B, you will be working very closely with pre-sales and sales and product marketing folks. These are the guys who are like on the in the front of the battle, talking to customers day in day out, and they are the best source for you to like obtain feedback and direct requests for specific features as well. In terms of external stakeholders, of course, you'll be talking to a lot of your customers as well as analysts. In B2B space, it is necessary for you to have some level of control and understanding of the knowledge in which your product is operating today. That means you have to talk to a lot of analysts. They could be from Gartner, Forrester, IDC, etc. Now, yeah. Now let's talk about the traits of product managers in the B2B and B2C space, right? In the B2B space, you expect the PMs to have deep industry knowledge in the space the product is operating in, or you are operating in. Sorry. You need to have a very clear vision. You can't build everything for everyone. So you should have a very clear vision. You know what? I want to solve this problem and do it well, then do 10 things very in an average manner. You have to be very astute in balancing customization versus complexity, because as you can imagine, 10 customers ask for 10 different things. You can't build 10 different knobs in your configuration dashboard to support them. You have to balance what everyone's asking for to in a way that their objective is being met, but you're not complicating the system in the first place. Your key customers dictate and influence your roadmap a lot. So a lot of people handling skills are very essential for B2B product managers. Customers, of course, can number in thousands, small volume. Hence, you can have a richer, in-depth conversations to build out features. And you really need to plan out your releases. You can't just fix or push a hot fix in the middle of the night without the sometimes without even the sign off of the customer on the other side, because even your contract might even prohibit you from doing that, because customers want their business continuity to be managed or paid attention to the most. So you have to be very careful about that as well. B2C product managers rely a lot on experimentation, usability, behavioral science, and instincts. They're very data driven. They have to take decisions based on a volume of data than being able to access specific users and talk to them themselves. The focus is on individual buyer, whereas in B2B platforms, the focus is on multiple, I would say, stakeholders in the organization. One of them is a buyer. And curiosity to chase data to obtain insights is something which is a unique trait necessary for B2C product managers. Customers can number in millions, right? So you need to have a way to work with data and numbers to arrive at the optimal and right decisions to improve and build your product and grow your product. Think fast, release faster. And the faster you are able to like act on feedback and make constant releases, the better chance your product will have in surviving. And in terms of tool usage, as you can imagine, B2B products, product managers work with a lot of prototyping tools, user feedback tools, road mapping, less of experimentation, they don't worry too much about user onboarding, a little bit of usage / product analytics, right? No need for session recording. B2C, as you can imagine, a lot of experimentation, a lot of attention to user onboarding, analytics, session recording, prototyping remains the same across both these categories, but less, I would say, a need for like reaching out to individual users and getting feedback, which is qualitative feedback, then focus on quantitative feedback a lot. All right. So yeah, so this is a wrap for a deep dive session on building for B2B products, or assessing what the role of a B2B product manager looks like in the context of building for businesses. We are done with the session. I'm opening up the of course, I'm opening it up for questions now. Happy to hear any questions anyone might have, and we'll be spending about 5 to 8 minutes to answer them. All right, what is the best way to do proper competitor benchmarking, especially of B2B products that are not mostly on demo only mode, not enabling users to directly? Great question. It's a great question. I think a straightforward way to at least do a comparison between products is doing the not a Gantt comparison, but just a table comparison of features. Competitor A, B, C, D, and these are the features which are a master list, and then you just see what the overlap of these features is across competition, right? That's the easiest way to like build the mapping of what specific competitors are doing in the feature landscape, right? In solving that particular problem. So apart from that, if a product is demo only, something which has worked for me and even my peers in the past is figure out a way to like sign up to these demos and then get the demo from the competitor themselves, so you have a better idea. Otherwise, a lot of these demos find their way to be like listed in either YouTube or other platforms. You can figure out a way to like look at these platforms then as well. A lot of these tools offer like trials, so maybe you could explore that as well. All right, I'll just tackle a question from Akshay next. Would funnel conversion data be important in context of B2B products? Is this regularly used? I would say, Akshay, at a certain level of scale, yes, the answer is yes. Like if your users are moved from tens to hundreds to, let's say, now tens of thousands, it's a sizable number. And you would want to look at the user activity, which is usage analytics, than funnels. Although funnels are data is also something which you have to track. One more question, balance. How do you balance or explain further on balancing customization versus complexity? I think I explained with an example. Let's say if 10 customers want a specific screen, to have a specific set of features. You can't build 10 different dashboards for these customers uniquely. Then you might want to say, you might want to configure it. What that means is anyone can on this page can enable what they want to see in terms of features on that particular screen. Now that is one type of configuration, but think about the permutations, combinations of people asking a lot more such customizations across your product. The permutations combinations makes it very difficult for you to like say okay and yes to all of these configurations and build it. It adds a lot of complexities because you're managing a table of these rules for all of your companies which are using a product, and becomes very messy. Um, Question by Shubham. Session recording is screen recording or heat maps. So essentially, you record how your user is interacting with your product and see what problems they're facing in interacting with the product in the first place. A/B testing generally does not happen in B2B products. Although at scale, A/B testing definitely makes sense. What are the ways to prioritize practically different customer requirements by not hurting them? It's a great question, Sriraj. I think it's as much to do with taking a very data-driven approach to your arguments or what you take back to the table itself. You have to be very clear, you know what, we are not doing this because of so and so reasons, and you back it up with data. and you have to be able to convince the other party in that case. We still have a few minutes. We can tackle a few more questions. Do you see design as a differentiator for B2B products? Absolutely, Sandesh. In fact, I covered this in the past as well. UX is a necessary trait. Sorry. Yeah, a necessary requirement in getting, user adoption right. And it also is a great differentiator to help your competitors or like customers make decision over you, go with you instead of your competitors. So design and UX always, you can imagine them to be unique advantages for your product. It depends, Kishore. What would be the right choice? Looking at competition and prioritize long-term vision, or provide features which provide value, add to existing customers and existing products and customers. So I would say what's super important is, of course, business continuity for the startup, which is building the product itself. You can't be very idealistic and build only for the future vision, ignoring your current customers who are paying money today for using your product. You don't want to alienate them, right? So you have to balance both the expectations well. So it's a classic prioritization problem in that sense. Swati asks, what are some tools I can use to analyze user behavior and B2B products? I don't think they're very different from B2C products, Swati. In fact, you can use Mixpanel or Google Analytics for B2B products as well and differentiate it, via customers, have more, with unique customer IDs, etc. Very similar to B2C products. Any more questions, folks? We are right on time. It's 9:57. We have like a minute or two to wrap the session. Once again, me, Priyal, and Ansha are super glad to have you guys here with PM School Star Session, which happens almost every week. Just a little bit about talking a little bit about PM School itself. So we are an 8-week intense focused upskilling platform for aspiring product managers. We help anyone who's interested in the product management space to acquire the right skill sets and knowledge to crack their dream product jobs. And of course, you will be inducted into our exclusive PM school Slack community and have all the support through your journey in the product management domain as well. Priyal is going to share an email with all the details. We have the next cohort starting in Jan. Please do sign up. We'll reach out to you. We'll have a chat. And if you're interested, we'll get you on board. It's a limited seat only, I would say, a program which we have today. And we emphasize a lot on one-on-one mentoring, hands-on learning, and you are assigned to like mentors who are industry veterans today in the product management space. All right, I think with that, we end today's star session. Thanks, everyone. I know it's late in the evening for you today, but we really appreciate you being here. This recording will go on YouTube and the link will be posted on LinkedIn as well. Do follow us on all social media handles to know more about the next event and generally interact with us if you have any questions. Thank you so much and good night.